Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2026 Winter Trademark Knowledge Examination Candidate Orientation Session. My name is Jen Slobodkin, and I am joined today by my colleague Tifan Camus. Tifan will introduce herself and explain the interpretation option to listen in French.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Tifan. For the French-speaking agents, we have translation. Pour avoir accès à la traduction, il vous suffit de cliquer en bas sur le globe Interprétation et sélectionner Français. Merci à vous et bon webinaire.
Merci, Tifan.
Alrighty, so the agenda for today. We'll be talking about a lot of different topics. So we'll be talking about the exam dates, the test specifications, the platform, the candidate instructions, the results and scoring, the process, and of course the FAQs. And if you have any questions we will ask you to wait until the end of this presentation and we will reply to as many as we can. Thank you. So the exam date will be on February 10th, 2026 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thanks, Tifan. All right, let's talk a little bit about the test specifications for the knowledge exam. CPATA develops each examination using a set of test specifications approved by the registration committee to ensure the exams test defensively. The test specifications, which you can find on our website, and I'll also show you where you can find them after the slide deck is over, outline what an exam will measure in terms of content domain, as well as guidelines on how the content is to be measured. Such guidelines are expressed in terms of structure, so for example, format, length, and cognitive level, and context, the circumstances in which examination questions are framed and that can influence their interpretation. The content weights for the qualifying examinations were each set by a group of practicing agents with guidance from a psychometrician. These weights were informed by average criticality and importance ratings from the large-scale competency validation survey administered in September of 2022. The recommended content weights were presented to the registration committee for approval. The knowledge examinations are set for 4 hours, are closed book, and consist of 135 multiple choice questions, up to 10% of which may be marked as non-scored. The non-scored items do not count toward the final score, but are used to gather data on item performance for future test forms. For the examinations, the non-scored items will be selected after the examination based on item analysis. In future years, the non-scored items will likely be selected in advance of the exam administration, though this could change following item analysis. Candidates are not advised which items are non-scored to ensure valid data. In the case of these knowledge examinations, 3 hours would typically be adequate for most test takers. Given that time pressure is not a tested construct on this examination, and given accessibility goals, the time to complete the examination was set at 4 hours. The knowledge examinations use a closed book format, where the items are designed to test general understanding of core concepts rather than information retrieval. Test takers are encouraged to prepare by reviewing source materials with the goal of understanding key concepts and familiarizing themselves with important sections of relevant legislation. A closed book format was selected for the knowledge examinations for the following reasons. Test quality. The ideal knowledge-based test items focus on understanding of core concepts rather than on minute details or information retrieval skills. Such items better test core constructs for improved validity and require less frequent updates for improved reliability. And because of reduced time pressures. A closed book exam tends to rely less on time pressure. This can be especially beneficial to those who are multilingual, those with test anxiety, and those requiring various accommodations. The examination is administered using a computer-based platform supported by paradigm testing. The examination will be remotely proctored using live proctors from Monitor EDU. French-speaking proctors are available upon request. Please contact the registration department at CPATA as soon as possible to arrange for a French-speaking proctor if you wish to do so.
Thank you, Jen. Here are the requirements for taking the exam. The specific technical requirements are available in the instructions and protocol guide, which are posted on the website. In order to complete the exams, you will need the following: a laptop or desktop computer, the most recent version of the secure browser. This is really important. You must make sure that you uninstall any previous versions of the secure browser and install the newest version. Even if the link is the same, the actual application has been updated. Please note there are French directions located at the bottom. Please scroll to access them if needed. We'll also need a mobile phone running at least Android OS 6.0 or Apple iOS 12.0 with a functioning camera and microphone. Google Meet app downloaded to your mobile device. A steady and reliable internet connection. Wi-Fi will be required for mobile streaming with a minimum upload speed of 1 megabytes per second. A 6-foot extension cord and phone cord. A phone stand or something to prop the mobile phone on. Government-issued ID. Candidate ID, which is provided on your confirmation of exam registration issued by CPATA. That will be sent by the end of this week. And finally, a quiet venue. You must be alone in the room. Here are some tips for setting up your room. There is a video linked in the setup guide. Please keep these things in mind when setting up your testing environment. There should be adequate lighting. Walls should be blank. Your table or desk should be clear, other than your laptop computer. The areas beneath the desk and chair should be clear. The computer and mobile phone should be plugged in for the duration of the exam. You should have within reach a 6-foot extension cord and use it, if requested by the proctor, to move the computer and mobile phone. You should inform other individuals they may share space with you about your exam date and time, and confirm that they will remain quiet during the exam and will not enter the exam room. You must be alone in the exam room for the duration of the exam. No one can enter the exam room during the exam. And finally, non-required electronics and any security or recording devices in the room must be turned off and put away in a safe place so that you can't reach them. Every candidate must test the exam platform with an exam proctor between February 2nd and 6th, 2026. This is true even if you have previously tested before. The live proctor check-in instructions are provided in the instructions and protocol guide. Proctors are available 24/7. You will be able to test your computer system and ensure everything works properly before the exams are written the following week. This is not a full mock practice exam. You will only be presented with the published practice exam questions again. This is to give candidates more familiarity with the platform and what to expect on exam days. The instructions for connecting with the proctor for the checking are published in the examination instructions protocol on the preparation page for the trademark exams. The live proctor checking is a mandatory step and must be completed before exam day. Its purpose is to verify that your exam environment, equipment, and technical setup meet all requirements. During the check-in, you will become familiar with the exam platform and proctoring process, which helps you know what to expect on exam day. Completing the check-in in advance can reduce stress and help avoid last-minute technical or setup issues that could delay or disrupt your exam. Please allow a minimum of 15 minutes for the check-in session to ensure optimal preparation and a smooth exam experience.
Thank you, Tifan. In terms of instructions for preparing for the exam, as Tifan described, you must test your equipment ahead of time, not on exam day. You should also have a government-issued photo ID with you for the proctor check-in and for the examination. You'll also need your candidate number. This is a unique number provided to each candidate for each exam administration. It is not your CPATA ID. The candidate number will be assigned to you and will be found in your confirmation of registration, which is scheduled to be sent out this Friday, January 23rd. Here are the instructions for connecting with a proctor on your exam day. Connecting with a proctor and filling out the sign-in form is a very important step. If you don't connect with a proctor, you will not be able to access the exam. You must connect with the proctor first, and it will be the same process that you follow to connect with a proctor for the live proctor check-in. The proctor will go through the registration process, check your ID, do the room and system check, and provide you with the login information, which includes the examination link and login credentials. It's important that you connect with a proctor before the exam start time at 1 p.m. Proctors are often assisting more than one candidate log into the exam, so to help ensure everyone starts on time, it is helpful to connect starting around noon and no later than 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. All of these instructions are provided in the Instructions and Protocol Guide, which is linked on our website. During the examination, you may not access the following types of personal items. Mobile phones. The only mobile phone that you are allowed to have with you is the one that you're using for proctoring. You cannot have access to any other mobile phone or other electronic devices. You may not access headphones or headsets, either wired or Bluetooth, handheld computers or other electronic devices. You must not have a watch, a wallet, a purse, a bag, or a coat. And you must not have any books, notes, or any other materials. Also, you may not wear hats or other head coverings unless they are worn as religious observance. Finally, smart glasses or glasses that can be connected to any kind of camera streaming or wired or Bluetooth type of device are also not permitted. You have to wear just regular glasses if you wear glasses. And the proctors are trained to check for that during the check-in process. Incident reports. Monitor EDU uses Google Meet to support their proctoring services. See instructions for downloading the applications that are on the instructions and protocol guide. This will allow exam sessions to be recorded. The recordings will be saved with Monitor EDU for a finite period of time. Therefore, if something occurs during your exam that you think that we should be aware of, you can send a request to schedule@monitoredu.com with your name, candidate number, and the date of the exam when the incident occurred to request that they share the exam recording with CPATA for further investigation. These requests must be submitted to Monitor EDU prior to the release of the examination results, but preferably as soon after the exam is written as possible. Snacks and water. You may have a drink with you, but it must be in a clear vessel, either a clear bottle, cup, or glass, with no labels. If you have a bottle with a label on it, you must remove or cover the label. You may also have snacks with you, but they must be in a clear Ziploc style bag so that the proctor can see what is in the bag. Also, please tell the proctor at the beginning when you are checking in that you would like to have snacks during the exam so that they are aware. You'll receive an email confirmation from Monitor EDU about a week before the exams that will provide you with the protocol for the exam days and the system setup information. If you wish to wear earplugs during the exam, they will need to be new foam earplugs that are still in their package. Candidates must open the earplugs in front of the proctor before the exam starts. Candidates must advise CPATA if they wish to use earplugs prior to the start of the exam so that the proctors can be informed. To support the integrity of the exam and security, all candidates will be asked to remove jewelry before the exam, such as earrings, necklaces, bracelets, etc. Given that this is a closed book exam, you cannot have any materials with you at all. You cannot have scrap paper or anything to write with. This would impact the security of the exam. Tifan, I'm just going to actually hand it over to you for this slide. I will be right back in just a minute.
Of course, thank you. Multiple monitors. Candidates can only use one monitor, but may choose which monitor they use if they have multiple monitors. Regarding bathroom breaks, time is not added back for bathroom breaks, but they are permitted. The exam is only paused or time is only added back for those approved for accommodations. When a candidate leaves the testing area for a bathroom break, proctors will perform another security check when the candidate re-enters the testing area. Candidates who are absent from the testing area for an extended period of time, for example, longer than a couple of minutes, or who take frequent breaks will be flagged for exam security. If exam security issues are detected, the candidate's examination attempt may be invalidated. In the event of any technical issues, candidates must get the proctor's attention. This will allow the candidate to communicate with a proctor who will assist them. Time is only added back or the exam is paused only if the issue was beyond the candidate's control. You must get the proctor's attention and make a request for additional time for this to be considered. We will go through how to get the proctor's attention later on in the presentation. You have a maximum of 4 hours to complete your examination. All exams will be submitted 4 hours after you have started your exam. It is your responsibility to ensure that your environment is adequate for testing. The examination is being displayed in the language of choice you selected on your registration form. Computer problems, internet-related difficulties, and connectivity issues, including problems resulting from a power outage, should be directed to the live proctor during the exam. As this is an individual examination, you're strictly forbidden from consulting any other individuals or materials. Any time missed due to late start, which was not attributed to a technology issue, will be deducted from the total examination time. Read the questions carefully. Exam translations. A PDF of the French version of the exam has been included as an exam aid in the platform. You can review the French questions and response options using that PDF if needed throughout the exam. Exit survey. Upon submission of the exam, you will be presented with a link to an optional survey that asks about any issue you may have experienced during the exam. To complete the survey, click on Survey on the submission page. A new window will open with the survey questions. Please complete the survey and click Submit. Once the survey has been submitted, close the Survey tab and then click on Close on the exam submission page. Please note that once your exam has been submitted and you're presented with the survey page, you will not be able to go back into the exam. the system will ask you to confirm you wish to submit your exam before the submission is made.
Thank you, Tiffany, and my apologies for that. Okay, let's take a look at the exam platform. Once you've connected with the proctor and been checked in, you'll receive the link to the examination. This is where you will enter your user ID and your password and then click on Login. You will see the exams on the dashboard. Click Start Test to begin the examination. Read the instructions and agree to the candidate agreement. The instructions and the candidate agreement are already published on the practice exam on our website, so feel free to review that information at any point between now and the exam administration to familiarize yourself with that information so that you don't have to worry about reading through it in detail on the exam date. Note that the clock timer will not begin counting down until you've accepted the candidate agreement and you start the exam. So you can take as much time as you need to read and review the instructions and the candidate agreement before launching the examination. It's important to know that you have different options for navigating through the questions. You can use the previous or next buttons. You can click on the question numbers at the bottom of the screen, or you can navigate to attempted, incomplete, or flagged questions using the question review function. That being said, we strongly recommend that candidates confirm that all questions have been answered before they submit the examination. Questions that are blue have been answered. Questions that are green have not yet been answered. I encourage you to check the question review section in the bottom right corner to ensure that you have answered all of the questions before submitting your exam. Here is an example view of a multiple choice question on the platform. I'll see if I can use the pointer, laser pointer. All right, so down here on the bottom left side of the screen, you'll see this is where the questions are numbered, and you can start from 1 and they'll go all the way across to 135. You'll also be able to view the next bookmark on the exam. At the top right-hand corner, you'll see the clock, the counter clock that will count down from 4 hours once you have launched the exam. This is where you'll be able to see how much time you have left throughout the examination. On the right side of the screen, in about the middle, you'll see the exam aids. The exam aids are where you'll be able to write notes to yourself. There is a notepad option and access the PDFs of the exam questions. On the bottom right side of the screen, you'll see the question review as well as the submit button. A couple of other features are also found on the examination screen. You'll be able to highlight text if you wish to do that, and or strike through text if that helps you while you're reading the examination. When we're done with the slides, as I mentioned before, we'll go to the practice exam link on the website and I'll show you how these features actually work. Did I skip something? Oh yes, font size and screen. So it's important that you're able to change the screen size while you're doing the exam if any of the questions are cut off or unable to see something. You can use the font increase or decrease. Oh, it's not changing.
Good.
One second.
Yeah,
I'm going to stop sharing and reshare for a second because I think that when I use the laser pointer, it messed everything up. So one second.
And since we have a quick break, just so you know, the question has been asked many times before. Yes, that webinar and the PowerPoint will be available on the website by the end of this week.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to start once again, just right from this slide. There we go. All right. Let me reshare. Okay, that should have fixed everything. All right, so you can use the font increase or decrease functionality, and I'll show you where to find that on the platform when we start sharing that, to increase the size of the text or to decrease the size of the text. You can also use Control plus or Control minus to zoom in or out on the exam window screen. Finally, you can review the questions in the exam aid PDF. So both the English and the French PDFs will be posted in the exam aid section. And this can be helpful for candidates with smaller monitors where the text may be cut off for some questions. There are a couple of troubleshooting pieces of information we'd like to share with you as well. If you experience a power outage is a sudden loss of electricity that interrupts the exam delivery or causes test takers' devices to shut down. If you experience this and your device shuts down, first of all, you need to remain calm. If the computer is off, then the exam timer should be paused. The candidate should get the attention of their proctor to let them know what is happening, and the proctor will then guide them through on what to do next. Monitor EDU has been instructed to escalate issues to CPATA so that we can talk about backup locations or other options if your power is not restored right away. You might experience network connectivity issues since you are writing in your own environment. Problems with internet connectivity that prevent test takers from accessing the exam platform or cause the exam to freeze or disconnect can happen. If a candidate has internet connectivity issues, you will also need to let your proctor know right away. The proctor will then ask the candidate to restart the computer. While this is happening, if the candidate has access to the internet router or modem, they will also need to restart that as well. If the issue does not resolve itself, Monitor EDU will escalate to CPATA, and we can talk about backup locations or options if the issue persists. Technical issues, software malfunction with the platform. Issues with the exam software, such as errors, bugs, incompatibilities, or crashes that interfere with exam delivery or prevent test takers from progressing through the exam, can also happen. If a candidate experiences any of these issues, you must contact the proctor right away for troubleshooting assistance. Remember, if you experience any issues, you need to get the proctor's attention. Tifan will now explain how to do that.
Thank you, Jen. If you need the proctor at all during an exam, please say your name and raise your hand and wait for the proctor to connect back through audio with you. Proctors can manage more than one test taker at the same time. So if it takes them a minute to respond, it could be that they are assisting with another test taker. If they do not respond, please pick up your phone and wave at the camera or hold your phone so they can see that you need something. Please do not disconnect from the video chat without talking to the proctor first.
Great. Now I'd like to turn our attention to results and scoring. There is no single method to determine a defensible pass mark for all tests or purposes. Different methods are suited to different circumstances. As a licensing body, CPATA needed to select an approach to standard setting based on the purpose of the examination, which in this case is to assess entry-level competencies, as well as how closely the method aligns with assessment goals. For a high-stakes licensing examination, in other words, a test with important consequences, the selected standard setting approach should relate to the purpose of the exam, be appropriate to the level of complexity of the competencies to be assessed by the exam, be appropriate to the specific format of the exam, for example, multiple choice versus performance-based questions, be supported by scholarly research, and for practical reasons should reflect the availability of resources. In 2023, the registration committee approved the methodologies which will be used on these exams to determine their pass mark. For the knowledge exam, they approved a modified Angoff method. The modified Angoff method is the most well-studied and documented standard setting method. It is the most commonly used method for setting cut scores in credentialing contexts and uses a standards referenced approach, which means that the pass mark reflects the standard and expectations of the profession. A minimum standard will be determined through a systematic standard setting process, which involves a panel of subject matter experts who are actually practicing agents. These panelists make ratings based on the expected performance of a minimally competent candidate for each individual exam item. The total number of scored questions a candidate answers correctly on the exam, each worth 1 point, will be compared to this minimum standard to determine the result. All candidates will receive a performance report which outlines the candidate's performance on the trademark knowledge examination. This report includes the overall result of either competency demonstrated or competency not yet demonstrated. The result competency demonstrated means that performance on the exam met or exceeded the minimum standard, showing a general understanding of the core concepts associated with trademark practice. This result indicates that the candidate has the entry-level foundational knowledge necessary to support future learning and development. Subject to meeting other requirements, this result means the candidate is eligible to register for the trademark agent skills examination. And those other requirements would be completion of the 24 months of supervised training. So as of right now, candidates who have completed a minimum of 12 months of supervised training are eligible to attempt the knowledge exam. If a candidate who has not completed 24 months of training passes the knowledge exam or demonstrates competency on the knowledge exam, they do still have to wait for the full 24 months of training to be completed to establish their eligibility for the trademark agent skills exam. The results competency not yet demonstrated means that performance on the exam did not meet the minimum standard. The candidate did not yet prove a sufficient understanding of the core concepts associated with trademark practice. The candidate may have gaps in their understanding of foundational trademark knowledge and the application of key trademark principles. This result suggests that the candidate may need further preparation and studying before reattempting the trademark knowledge examination. The performance report also includes an overall performance descriptor that compares the candidate's performance, in other words, the number of questions answered correctly, to the minimum standard. This information, along with measurement variability data, informs an estimate of how close the candidate's performance was to the passing standard. Measurement variability data is a statistical summary that represents the dispersion or spread of data points in a data set. The performance categories are as follows. Above the standard. The candidate's performance on the exam was above the passing standard, demonstrating competence beyond the minimum requirements. Just meets the standard. The candidate's performance on the exam just meets the passing standard, demonstrating a satisfactory level of competence. Approaches the standard. The candidate's performance on the exam was close to the passing standard, showing some potential. However, some improvement is needed to meet the standard. And below the standard. The candidate's performance on the exam was below the passing standard and improvement is needed. Candidates who receive an overall result of competency demonstrated would receive a corresponding performance descriptor of either above the standard or just meets the standard. Candidates who receive an overall result of competency not yet demonstrated would receive a corresponding performance descriptor of approaches the standard or below the standard. Finally, the performance report lists the knowledge areas tested on the exam, as well as the percentage of questions on the exam related to each area. Knowledge areas with more questions have a greater effect on your overall performance. The performance details show whether the candidate's performance in each knowledge area meets, which means is equal to or exceeds, or is below a minimal threshold set for each area. The area level thresholds are set using data from the standard setting process. It's important to keep in mind that only the total score will determine the overall result. There is no separate pass mark for each knowledge area, so stronger performance in one area can offset weaker performance in another. Also keep in mind that the area level results are based on fewer questions than the overall result, making them less reliable for predicting future performance. For this reason, the meets or below insights should only be used to help candidates better self-assess their knowledge of these areas and not a definitive statement of their ability. We understand that test takers may be used to seeing specific scores on exams, and that these scores provide a tangible measure of performance. However, the primary purpose of our qualifying examinations is not to rank order test takers or precisely measure their depth of knowledge or skill, rather to determine whether a test taker has achieved a certain level of competence. The important question is not how much better did one person do compared to another, but has this person met the minimum level of competence required to practice safely and effectively? Think of the licensing process in terms of a series of hurdles. The goal of completing these hurdles isn't necessarily about how much faster one person is than another. The primary objective is to determine whether each person can successfully complete each hurdle. A person who clears the hurdles by 1 inch is just as successful in this context as a person who clears them by a foot. In a similar vein, our qualifying examinations work more like a series of hurdles rather than a race against other competitors. As such, the score isn't as meaningful as the overall decision of competency demonstrated or competency not yet demonstrated. You can also think of the pass mark as analogous to the height requirement for amusement park rides. When you approach a ride, there's a sign indicating a height that guests must be a certain height tall to ride. The point of this measure isn't to see who the tallest person is, but to ensure that everyone on the ride meets a minimum height for safety reasons. Similarly, our exam isn't about who achieves the highest score, but whether each candidate has reached the necessary height or level of competence to practice the profession safely and effectively. Additionally, focusing on the result rather than the numeric score may reduce unhelpful competition amongst test takers, which can also lessen test-related stress and anxiety. Our goal is to ensure that each licensed individual is qualified and competent. We have chosen this method of reporting for our exams because we believe this method best serves that purpose. The approach focuses on the goal of achieving general proficiency rather than encouraging test takers to chase after a high score. So the cut score for the exam is not made public. Only the pass rate for an exam administration is made public and published on our website. Finally, you may be wondering if you can challenge your result. The short answer is no, you cannot challenge your result. The long answer is the process used to create, administer, and score the CPATA knowledge examinations employed psychometric best practices at every stage to ensure that it was valid, reliable, defensible, and fair. For item development, practicing agents were recruited to develop the item bank for the knowledge exams. Each agent received a development assignment, which was coordinated to ensure the mix of items and their content area aligned with the proportion of items that appear in each test form, as required by the test specifications. They were required to adhere to an item development guide, which helped item developers create quality test items. It outlined fundamentals, recommended practices specific to developing multiple choice questions, and writing conventions that apply to all items of various types. After the items were developed, they underwent a rigorous review process to ensure that they were appropriate and that the answer key was correct. This included many steps, such as a peer review, where an independent subject matter expert, so an agent other than the one who developed the item, reviewed the item for content and quality. And that meant alignment to the test specifications in terms of competency and cognitive level, suitable level of difficulty, and whether the answer key was correct. The items also underwent a psychometric review, where a psychometrician reviewed the items to confirm that they adhered to defensible item development practices. Another group of independent subject matter experts who were bilingual practicing agents that were not involved in the item development process then reviewed the items to ensure that the items in each language were equivalent and meant the same thing. Finally, an examination advisory group completed a final review to identify any outstanding issues or concerns. After all of the reviews were completed, the exam form was assembled in accordance with psychometric best practices and the approved test specifications. The form was assembled and randomly sequenced in a way to balance content area and cognitive level. Once the form was assembled, it was piloted by a group of practicing agents. An item analysis was conducted by a psychometrician to flag items that required review, and any outstanding issues related to the items were resolved. Now, after the exam is administered, we complete a standard setting process, as previously described when I spoke about results and scoring. During this process, the psychometricians conduct another item analysis with data from the actual exam administration. The exam advisory group members then complete a key validation process where they review and validate items that are flagged during the analysis. During this process, the answer key may be corrected if, for example, an item was miskeyed. An item could be scored with 2 or more keyed answers if, for example, 2 options are considered correct. All candidates may be awarded credit, or the item may be removed from scoring. The standard setting process occurs to derive the proposed pass mark. The registration committee then meets to approve the pass mark, and the results file will be generated using that information. The results file is then reviewed for accuracy before the performance reports are generated. In summary, we have implemented checks and controls in the development, review, and scoring process to verify the accuracy of results. This includes investigating and resolving any discrepancies or questions before releasing performance reports. In addition, before notifying any test taker of a result of competency not yet demonstrated, we engage in an administrative review of that result. This review is automatic and at no cost to the test taker. For this reason, performance report results are considered final when published. The knowledge examinations have been administered twice since 2025. Because agents in training complete their training programs at different times throughout the year, and the dates of the exams are fixed on an annual basis, to ensure fairness, all agents in training are permitted to attempt the knowledge examination up to 4 times. Agents in training who do not attempt the knowledge exam within 2 years after the day on which they complete their training will be required to provide and complete a remedial training and education plan before being permitted to attempt the exam. Similarly, agents in training who don't demonstrate competency on the knowledge exam after 4 attempts are also required to provide and complete a remedial training and education plan before being permitted to attempt the exam again. Agents in training who have attempted the knowledge exam and request a delay in writing a subsequent administration of the exam for a reason beyond their control, and who don't attempt it again within a period of 2 years, are also required to provide and complete a remedial training and education plan. Now, what happens if there are extenuating circumstances or irregularities during an exam? We use various methods to detect and address issues and irregularities. At the end of each exam administration, we solicit feedback from test takers about extenuating circumstances that they believe materially impaired their exam performance. Additionally, CPATA may actively seek and analyze information from test takers, exam administrators, and experts to identify irregularities in an exam administration, including misconduct. In the case of extenuating circumstances or any irregularity, we reserve the right to withhold any result, to nullify or invalidate an exam submission, to subject any exam or part thereof to further review, and to take other actions, which could include disciplinary action if appropriate, in order to preserve the integrity of the licensing process. So if you're unsuccessful with the winter administration, there is another administration in 2026, and that will be held on May 26th, 2026. As mentioned, there are now 2 administrations of the knowledge exam per year, one in the winter and one in the spring. Resources are available on our website to assist candidates in preparing for the knowledge examination. This includes the candidate guide, the setup guide, what to study, the test specifications, and the sample exams. And I'll show you in a few minutes what all of these look like on our website.
All right. So if you have any questions with Monitor EDU setup, you can reach out to them on this email. And then if you can also speak to a lab agent, you just need to click on the link. And if you have any other issues, questions, concerns, please don't feel free to reach out to us at any time.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to share the website before we get into the Q&A. All right, so just share screen too. There we go. Okay, so this is what the preparation page on the website looks like. If you go to Agents in Training and then Trademark Agent Qualifying Exams, you'll see the link to information, which includes dates, the preparation page, which is what I'm going to go through with you now, the registration and accommodations page, and the results page, which includes the results release date and the FAQs for the results. So if you click on preparation, then this information will help you prepare for the knowledge exam. First, we have the Trademark Knowledge Examination Candidate Guide. So this is what that looks like. It explains all of the information that we went through during this webinar, and it provides you with the details in written form so you can always go back and review them whenever you need to. Underneath that is the Trademark Agent Skills Exam Candidate Guide, which is not something that you need to review right now, but that's where it is for the future. Underneath that is the Examination Instructions and Protocol. And if you click on that, it will provide you with the instructions for the live proctor check-in and for exam day. So you can see here, if you scroll down, there's the link to setting up your room. And here is the link to the most recent version of the secure browser. So as Tiffen mentioned, it's very important that you uninstall the previous version of the secure browser and you install the latest version that is linked in the candidate instructions and protocol. In terms of what to study, we have a few links here. The first is the Trademark Knowledge Examination link, which combines information from the technical competency profile with information from the test specifications. So this is what that looks like. Essentially, the information about the knowledge area, the percentage of marks on the exam, and then the actual sources and knowledge concepts are found in this document. So you can see as an example, about 50% of the knowledge exam is based on foundational trademark knowledge. So these are the types of sources where the agents used as material to develop the item questions. And here is the list of concepts. For the knowledge area specific to registrability and strategy, that's about 15% of the exam. And here are the list of knowledge concepts that might be included in items related to that area. Same with prosecution, and same with opposition and Section 45 proceedings. So what I would recommend doing is going through this document and testing yourself to see if you understand the knowledge concepts and how to apply them in practice. The test specifications also provide the information that I went through at the beginning of the presentation. So it explains the knowledge area and this percentage of marks that will be allotted to that knowledge area on the examination. It explains the format and length, the cognitive level, and then the contextual variables for the examination. So that's also available on our website. If you scroll down a little bit further, then you get to the sample knowledge exam questions. And if you click on that first link, sample trademark knowledge exam, then the actual test platform will populate for you. And this is where you see the examination instructions, which will be the same as on exam day. So you can read through that at your leisure. Same with the candidate agreement, same as on exam day, so you can read through that. You have to click on accept and then start, and the sample exam will open for you. So just to go through the things that we talked about during the presentation, in the top right-hand corner, you will see the time left. So that's the counter, the clock from 4 hours down. And if you've been approved for an accommodation, then that clock will start with the amount of time that you've been approved for to write the examination. You can see along the bottom, we have questions 1 through 15. So those are all of the sample exam questions. They are all green right now because I haven't answered any of the questions yet. But as soon as I select an answer, then that question becomes blue. So you can see here now I've completed question 1, but I still have to answer the rest of these questions. And you can click on any of those questions to view them in the order that you'd like to view them in. Or you can click on the next or previous buttons to go back and forth through the questions in the order that they appear on the exam form. You can also bookmark a question. And if you go down to the question review screen, then you can see I've attempted 1 question. I have 14 questions that are incomplete. I've flagged 1 question. And if I click on the flagged question, then it'll just show me all of the ones that I've bookmarked for myself. So when you're going through the exam, if you come to a question that you don't know the answer to right away, you can bookmark it, and then you can go back and review all of your bookmarked questions at the end. Or if you answer a question and you're not sure about it, you can also bookmark it to review your answer before you submit your exam. So I'm going to go back and click on Review All, and all of the questions will come back onto the screen for me. You can also increase or decrease the size of the font using this little function down here. So if I click on the big A, then all of the area on the exam form will be increased in size. If I click on the medium A, then it'll go back to its normal size. You can also down here see how much of the exam you've completed. So I've completed 1 out of 15 questions, which is approximately, I believe it says 7% of the exam. In the exam aids over here, this is where the PDFs of the French and English exams will be found. So if you have any issues with reviewing an exam question, your screen hasn't changed size properly, then you can also read all of the questions and response options in the exam PDFs. And we also have a notepad feature. So this is where you can type little notes to yourself if you need to do so during the exam. And that's why scrap paper is not permitted on this examination. If you click on the exam aids tab, then it will collapse down for you, so it's not blocking any of the question anymore. Once you've completed all of the exam questions, you answered them all. So I'm just going to click on that for that question. I've done 1 in 15. Then you click on submit. It will ask you if you're sure if you want to submit the exam. You click yes, and the exam will be submitted for you. So this is where the exit survey will be available. You'll actually have to close the exam, and you'll be presented with another screen that will allow you to launch the exit survey. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and then we will get into the Q&A. So I'll go from the question that was asked the earliest, and then we'll scroll down to the most recent question that's asked. If I'm registered for the winter exam, is it possible to defer the exam to spring? If so, how can I do this? So if you're registered for the exam and you don't wish to write it because of a reason beyond your control, then you can contact the registration department, registration at -inscription at CPATA-CABAMC.ca. It's the same email that we've corresponded with you about registration, and you can ask for further instructions on how to request a waiver. Now, depending on when we receive this request, you may or may not receive a refund for the examination fees. So the date of the exam is February 10th. I'm just confirming, yes, it's February 10th. It's not February 9th. If you have permanent jewelry or pieces that cannot be removed, then I strongly recommend you contact CPATA and ask for further instruction on what to do with that situation. Are there any restrictions on peripheral hardware? My keyboard is wired but my mouse is wireless. I'm not sure if there are any problems with that. There shouldn't be any problems with that, but that's something that you should definitely make sure works well and properly while you're doing the live proctor check-in the week of February 2nd to 6th. I will probably be talking to myself all exam. Am I likely to be muted by the proctor so that I'm not distracting? So you're not actually permitted to say anything out loud during the examination, as that could be considered a security issue. So if you do need to request an accommodation for something like that, then I do recommend that you contact CPATA as soon as possible through the registration email to ask for further instruction on what to do in that situation. If I pass the knowledge exam, but not the skills exam, do I have to retake the knowledge exam the following year? No, you do not. Once you have passed the knowledge exam, that exam result remains valid. So you do not have to start from the beginning again. I unfortunately cannot show you how to use the secure browser because I wouldn't be able to be doing a webinar or anything like that. But you should do the live proctor check-in. It's a mandatory step, and the proctoring company will go through that process with you so that you're able to practice that before the examination date. Now, those were the only questions that have been typed into the Q&A, but I'll just offer a couple of other pointers or tips, if you will. We strongly recommend that you write this exam in your home environment and not in your work environment. Your work environment might have additional firewalls or internet security protocols, or your work computer might have something that's on it that will prevent the secure browser from being able to be used. So we strongly recommend that you write using your personal computer or device, not a work computer, and in your personal environment, not in a work environment. If you're unable to do that for whatever reason, then that just makes the live proctor check-in process all the more important, because there will be situations, and we've had this for almost every exam administration that we've had, where somebody has to contact the IT department of their employer to help change settings on their computer or to change settings on the internet or what have you to allow for this process to take place. So we strongly recommend that you do this on your personal device in your personal environment. But if that is not possible, then definitely need to practice this during the live proctor check-in week. Even if you're doing it on your personal device in your personal environment, still do the live proctor check-in. It is a mandatory step so that you can make sure everything works before the exam is administered. If you do write at home, then you should be in an enclosed area, like a room of some kind, if possible. If you are not able to do that, then the live proctoring company will be able to provide you with instructions for how to set up your environment so that there aren't any security issues. If you're not going to be writing in an enclosed room, then you have to make sure that there will be no interruption. So nobody's going to be coming in and out of where you are. There's not going to be any sound distractions, and that everything that you can see is properly covered. So if your home environment has bookcases and prints on the walls, etc., you will have to cover those things using a sheet or something like that. And the link that's in the instructions and protocol guide can walk you through the types of things that you need to do to prepare for your environment. It's also something that you will be able to test during the live proctor check-in to make sure that everything is set up properly for exam day. All right. I don't have any additional tips or tricks, Tifan. I'm not sure if you have anything to add. We'll wait just maybe another minute to see if anybody else has any other questions. But I'd like to also say that this recording and the slides for this deck will be published on our website within the next couple of days. So you'll be able to go back and watch this again if you wish to do so, as well as review the slide deck if you wish to do that as well. Also, if you know of anybody who is registered for the exam but was unable to attend this session today, please let them know that it will be posted on the website as well. The confirmation of registration, which will go out on Friday, will have a link to the slide deck and the recording, so everyone will have access to the same information. Same question has come in about nose rings and permanent jewelry. Please contact the registration department for further instructions if you have any jewelry that cannot be removed. Yes, so the webinar and slides will be available under the preparation tab on the website. So right now on the website, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the preparation page, that's where we had the link to register for the webinar, and that registration link will be removed and will be replaced with the link to the recording and the link to the slides. So good question. Thank you for asking that. So the pass rate for the higher exams is available. Actually, if you go to our website under About Us, there's a reports section. And under the reports section, if you click on exam reports, then you'll be able to see all of the reports from all of the previous administrations of the new exams. So we have the 2 skills exams administration reports, and then we have 2 of the knowledge exam administration reports. We have the 2025 winter and 2025 spring. So if you click on 2025 spring, for example, it will show you what the pass rate was for that specific exam administration. And it also includes a chart that shows you the pass rates for the previous administrations. So for 2024, for example, the pass rate for the trademark knowledge exam was 86%. On the winter 2025 administration, it was 85%. And on the spring 2025 administration, it was 90%. So you can access all of those reports under About Us and then exam reports on our website. We publish those as soon as the results for an exam have been made available. And I'll also let you know that the results for this examination are expected to be provided to everybody on April 2nd, 2026. All right, going once, going twice, going 3 times. no further questions. I don't see any further questions coming through. So if you do have a question that you come up with after the webinar is over, then please feel free to reach out to us at registration, and we'd be happy to answer that for you. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the other CPATA staff on this call. Thank you, Andres. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you to my co-presenter, Tifan, and thank you to our interpretation team for assisting us with this exam administration and with this webinar. So yes, you can, the only question that's come in since I counted down was, can I bring tea instead of water in a clear container? And that's fine. You can have tea. That's no problem. You just have to make sure that the container is clear so that we know that there's nothing in there like notes or anything like that. Okay, so I will now ask our team to end the webinar for this afternoon. Thank you all very much for your attention and your participation, and good luck with the exam in a few weeks. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.